And there you have it, Joe Manchin, coal baron, representative, as much as a representative can be when baron is in their other job title, found himself delayed from leaving a parking garage when a number of different protesters, including those coming from the Hunger Strike for Climate Justice group, decided to block the path of his Maserati. I know, sort of anecdotally that Maseratis are not cheap cars, but thankfully Nina Turner posted that the base price for a Maserati Levante is $79,000, which works out to slightly more than 3 years of the median annual income in West Virginia. The price of that Maserati was news to me. If he saw that tweet, what his constituents make would certainly be news to Joe Manchin, but he would move on from it very quickly, I'm sure. Brett, I don't always know exactly how you're gonna come down on some of these protests. This was not in a bathroom, let's be very clear about that. He was not driving out of the bathroom. So what do you think about this climate protest there?
What a moderate Maserati driving coal baron. That's what I always think about moderates. When I'm like, what's the middle of the road in America? And when your car's price is 3 times plus the median income for someone that you represent, you gotta be kidding me. If I had Joe Manchin money, the guy's so rich, so elitist, his last name is Manchin. That is the biggest lie of our time, besides like the big lie of stealing the election. The big lie that the media insists on telling people is that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are moderates. No moderate can afford to drive a Maserati. And it is basically, he is relieving himself on the media by having the gall to gallivant about in a Maserati as they're ignoring King Triton's Maserati logo on the front of his car.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. And I think the protest is fine. I think by and large, if you're out there chanting, "We want to live," like, get a new chant. Like, I think you can do a better chant than that. I just don't think, and this is just politically speaking, I don't think that I've said this on your show before, like, you gotta find a more immediate way to appeal to people. You can shout all you want at a slowly boiling frog, but the frog's like, no, this feels pretty good, man.
I like that new spin on that old metaphor. Yeah, look, I agree obviously about the moderate thing. Every once in a while I will tweet at like the New York Times to ask them to literally ever define what they mean when they use that term, or ask the editors how they came to the decision to use that term. And of course, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, he drives around in a Maserati. He lives in a yacht. Now, granted, look, there are more expensive cars than Maseratis. That is true. I'm just gonna read. I don't know much about Maseratis. I just found this tweet to be funny, but Uriel X tweeted, 80 grand for a car with interior panel gaps so big a tube of toothpaste will fit between them. The perfect overpriced garbage toy for the overpriced garbage toy of big oil. If you own a Maserati, don't at me. I have no idea if that's accurate. I just find it to be funny. But he drives his Maserati to take him back to the yacht he lives on. When he's not using his Maserati, does he get in like a gilded like Zeppelin? It just bothers me so much that we don't care about the obvious gap between us and them, the ones that we choose to represent us, that we think reasonably, yeah, the guy in the yacht who owns the coal company, he's the guy that should represent us. And if you live in Virginia, the guy with $440 million who worked for the Carlyle Group, he's the guy that will drain the swamp. What is wrong with us that we still think that they could have anything in common with us, that they could understand our pain, that he has any idea what it's like to make $25,000 a year in West Virginia?
But you know what?
In seconds.
You ask Jim Carville, he said nobody knows the people of West Virginia quite like Joe Manchin knows people of West Virginia. Yeah, because he's got a bird's eye view of them from his ivory tower.
Yeah,
they look like ants to him. And because they're covered in coal coming out of one of his mines.
Exactly. And by the way, from that coal company, he has made $500,000, apparently just in 2020, in stock dividends. So I'm sure that when he enters into good faith negotiations, please everyone stop using good faith because nobody has it. When he enters into good faith negotiations around whether we should incentivize clean energy, he's not at all thinking about the $500,000 he made just in stock dividends in 1 year. And again, we go into it, we elect these people, and we expect that they won't be, biased by the fact that he has a $5 million stake in a coal company. It's amazing what we allow. Now that said, he has faced other protests. Actually, on that same day, the protesters were waiting not just for his car, but also when he got off of his yacht, and you can see a little bit of that here.
We want to live. 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 We want to live.
So unfortunately for Brett, it's the same chant. I know it's not gonna be persuasive. And look, obviously, like Manchin doesn't care. I think that what they're doing is great. I think, we'll talk more about those individual protesters. They're doing one of the only things that they can do, and the sorts of things that at least hypothetically are supposed to be able to influence people in a representative democracy, particularly when the policies that they're advocating for are wildly popular, including in his state. But that said, we have moved far past that as a state, as a government, like that. He doesn't care. He's not worried about losing his seat. He's sure that the money he has will buy him re-election, and even if it doesn't, he'll just go and sit on some corporate boards and make even more money than he does now. So I don't know, other than revising the chant, I'm not sure what they're supposed to do, but I am glad that they're trying something, that some people care about the future.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think people should be hounding him all the time. I think they should hound him about his refusal to, give people stuff that will improve their daily lives. Like one of Manchin's catchphrases is, "If I can't explain it, I'm not going to vote for it." Okay. Then you've got some explaining to do about how you're not voting for it. You've got to explain to me why you're against paid family leave, which is supported by over 80% of Americans. You got to explain to me why you don't want Medicare to negotiate drugs prices. This amounts, by the way, to a tax on people for being old. The government has the opportunity to start a policy that will lower how much people pay for prescription drugs. By failing to do that, they're raising the price of prescription drugs on people for being elderly. That's a government decision that makes people's lives more expensive. This is the most sickening, pathetic thing. And he can't explain why he is against family values, because he doesn't want people to hang out with their kids when the kids are born. He's against the family. All the Republicans against the family because they don't want people to be able to spend time with their kids when they're born. Okay, that's one. The other one is they want to tax the elderly for surviving this long by keeping Medicare drug prices artificially high. Something other countries that we're way better than, because we're America, damn it, they're doing better than us. He can't explain it and he won't explain it. I've got an explanation for it. I can explain it very easily. He's a coal baron. He'd rather poison people and make enough money to buy a Maserati. He can't explain any of this. And worse, the media allows him to go on without an explanation. They just copy paste the word moderate because they saw it before.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he not only did, you're totally right. He can't explain it. He also never has to. Like, and why would we expect that the media would throw the polls showing that everything he says about this negotiation is wrong, about the policies, about his own constituents' willingness to tax the rich and corporations to pay for it? Why would we expect that they would throw that in his face when they won't even consider it on their own when they're covering election returns and speculating about what people want? They don't go to the polls. CNN doesn't go to its own polls to get that information. All of it's hypothetical because they want to come to certain conclusions. Their motivation is exactly the same as Manchin. They have goals. They aren't as clear as a network like TYT about what it is that they want, but they damn sure want something and they're going to advocate for it in the way that they can. Manchin says we have an entitlement mentality. He drives his Maserati to his yacht and you have an entitlement mentality. He blocks you from getting a voucher for dental care. Has he ever had to choose which tooth to save? I sort of doubt it. He feels entitled to his teeth and to his Italian sports car and to his houseboat that he lives on. It's insane. Now, I do want to let you know just really fast, because those protesters are doing good work. So John Paul Mejia, who's going to be joining us in a couple weeks, actually, it turns out, which is pretty awesome, says leading the group are 5 young people with hunger strike who didn't eat for 2 weeks in a bold effort to get POTUS's attention and demand that he stop negotiating away his climate promises to politicians like Manchin, who are bought out by fossil fuel corporations. Yeah, they went 14 days. These individuals, as young as 18, as old as 24. I cannot conceive of that. That is,
as someone who was once that age, I was hungry all the time. Like, I was never not hungry. It is more difficult at that age, I think, than now to do that kind of stuff. So that's great. That's the right thing to be doing. It is, regardless of I mean, it should be enough. Dayenu, it would have been enough for it just to be about like the end of civilization. But I can also give you things right now that will improve the lives of West Virginians. By Manchin's own admission, people are moving slowly away from coal. Okay, if West Virginia if their senator doesn't decide to back the investment in a transition to a new technology and an expediting of that new technology. One, the pollution it creates is killing people. And I'm not saying by like slowly cooking them to death. I mean like fine particulate matter that comes out of these things causes spontaneous abortions, causes cancer. A lot of people are being killed like now, not by the weather, right now by his coal plants. And also they're gonna starve to death because there aren't going to be those jobs by his own admissions. And so we need him to help his people by giving them jobs for the future. That's it.
Yeah. And that is something that is within our power. And it would be to his constituents' economic benefit. It would be to his state's economic benefit. It would be to the country's economic benefit. But none of that matters when weighed against his own personal economic benefit. And he is doing just fine right now. By the way, after that confrontation, he went on CNN and said that the Senate is a hostile working environment.
Which is insane.
Shut the hell up.
Like,
by the way,
I'm shocked to find out that there's competition in the Senate. If that was a good argument, I'd be fine with it. It's like, you know what, these people, that versions of that argument have existed forever. Like, why is the Senate such a confrontational place? The solution to that argument is to say, so instead of us fighting for our own reelection and our own partisan bickering, why don't we take a step back and just look at the polling, at what most people want, at what most West Virginians want. That's the way around this. Let's do a most Americans agree agenda where we just vote for the stuff that most Americans want.
100%.
Period.
I like it. Let's work on that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.